Hello and welcome back to Arctic Retro. Today is part 2 of the exploration of the Apple IIe computer. And today I will take a look at how to run some games and also do the maintenance of the floppy disk drives. In part 1 I did the maintenance of the machine. You saw me exploring and disassembling, and I did the cleaning and the retrobrighting and initial testing. So in this episode I'm gonna try to transfer some software onto a floppy disk and try to run that on this machine. The machine came with these two excellent looking floppy drives, drive 1 and 2, and I don't know the status on them because I haven't had a chance to test them since the machine came with no software. This video is sponsored by PCBWay, and right now they are running their 4th PCB design contest. So if you are into PCB design, then you should participate on this contest. They have great prizes. If you need to have produced your PCBs, then you can go to PCBWay.com and you will get an instant quote with affordable prices as low as only $5 for 5 PCBs. They produce very good quality PCBs, and they also provide other services like advanced PCBs or rigid flex PCBs. And they also do services like assembly and SMD stencil. So I'm actually going to start by doing some maintenance on these drives. That means cleaning and lubricating. So then I can start fresh with the new fresh drives. Hey, there's actually a disk in this drive. I wasn't aware about that. Redulf. Nice, maybe there's something exciting on that one. The Disk 2 floppy drives were released in 1978 actually, and the initial cost was almost $600 back in the day. So that's quite a lot. And Apple designed the drives themselves, the control electronics, except from the actual drive mechanism. And this is a single-sided drive with a capacity of 113 kilobyte. Alright, I'm gonna open up the drives now and see what we got. I'm gonna do both at the same time, but I'm only gonna show one of them. So there's 4 screws on the underside. Besides that, I can't see anything else. Oh, need to slide it backwards. Oh, sorry about that. Alright, that's the inside, and it looks okay. Doesn't look any dusty or dirty actually. And here you can see it says Apple Computer Disk 2 analog card, and this is the controller card for the drive that was designed and manufactured by Apple. However, the drive mechanism itself is made by another company. It says here copyright 1978, but the date codes on some of the chips and also on this connector is 1983, so it's not that old. The whole drive actually looks very clean. I don't think there's anything I can do here except for maybe cleaning and lubricating a little bit the drive mechanism. I'm gonna remove this card and see if I can reach the drive head. Alright, so that is the drive head, and Although it looks clean, I'm gonna gently clean it off with some IPA. Also cleaning off this drive rail here, this metal rod that runs through the mechanism. So there's no dust or anything inside, so this must be a very well protected drive. Then I use a tiny amount of silicone grease to lubricate the drive rail here, just the tiniest amount. Alright, so that was actually it. No need to do anything else. Sometime later I'm gonna consider recapping these drives because I see they have some electrolytes, but I'm not gonna do this right now. Alright, that wasn't too hard. The opening mechanism for the drives are a little squeaky, so yeah, I'm gonna lubricate those as well with some silicone. Alright, that's much better. Perfect. I'm not really sure if this drive is using a belt. It probably is, but I'm not gonna try and replace any belts on this, not now. I see no point in doing that until it eventually breaks down sometime in the future. Alright, I have cleaned off the covers and they now look very nice and clean and almost like brand new. And yeah, that was it for the maintenance of these drives. Alright, so let's see if we can get some floppy disks working on this machine, and to do that there's obviously several ways. You can of course use some hardware options like the Floppy EMU, but I don't have any of those, so I need to come up with some other solution. And of course one of the benefits of this machine is that you can actually boot it from tape and serial connection. And that means that you can actually transfer data from another computer, a modern computer or a phone, to this machine. But this machine did not come with any serial card, so the only option I have is to use the audio input port. So I'm going to insert the cable now, and then I'm going to use the program ADTPro for Mac. ADTPro is a well-known program for transferring data to Apple II computers, and you can find it free on GitHub. That means that it is open source, and it runs on several operating systems: Windows, Linux and Macintosh. I have installed ADTPro 2.1 on my Mac, and the trick now is to actually make the Apple II boot or bootstrap from ADTPro program on the Mac via the audio connection. The documentation on GitHub is very good, so it seems to be straightforward. I haven't tested it, I will do it now. I start by connecting the Apple II to the Mac with a 3.5mm audio cable here. Then I turn on the Apple IIe and hit Control Reset right away to prevent it from booting. And the trick now is that the ADTPro program on the Mac transfer a bootstrapper to the Apple IIe. It will then restart and boot from that bootstrapper, and then the ADTPro on the Mac will transfer an ADTPro program to the Apple IIe, and that's where you start and make a floppy disk with the ADTPro program for Apple II. Alright, let's try this. Now I select the audio button and then go to the bootstrapping. So the first thing we need to do is to send the ProDOS floppy image to the Apple II. And here we get some instructions on the screen on what to do, but we're supposed to enter some commands on the Apple. So it's call -151. And then we're supposed to enter 2000, 2000.62E7R. And now we're supposed to hit OK in ADTPro on the Mac. So now it is sending bootstrap data over the audio connection to the Apple II. If it works. Since this is over an audio or cassette connection, it is of course very slow. If I had a serial card, then this would be much faster, so we just have to wait. Alright, so that seems to be working. The process succeeded, it actually says on the screen. Next step then is to enter 2003G. Alright, so this is ProDOS 8 version 2.4.2. So now we're gonna send the ADTPro audio client. So I go to bootstrapping and then ProDOS and send ADTPro audio client. And now it instructs to enter some other commands. That's actually going into the machine code monitor and instructing where to load data from the audio. So we again enter call -151 and then enter 800.4A6 FR and then hit OK on the Mac. So this was quite a new experience. And it seems to be working on first try when using these audio connections from other machines. Sometimes you have problem with the audio level and you can't load the data correctly. Okay, so the sending of the ADTPro client was successful. So now we're gonna enter 800G. And that will start the ADTPro application on the Apple II. Alright, so that's it. Now we are ready to format and copy floppy disks. Great. Now that we have the ADTPro running on the Apple II, the next step is to format a floppy. And for that we use the ADTPro format function. So now it reads the drives and we'll list them here obviously. So yeah, there's RAM and there's 2 drives. 1 and 2, and it says IO error, but I think that is because the floppy disk is not formatted. So let's go down to number 1 and hit enter. Ready to format? Yes. Alright, so that seems to be working. Format another, no. Now that we have a newly formatted disk, the next step will be to send the actual ADTPro application to the floppy disk, so that we don't have to use the ADTPro bootstrapping mechanism every time. So we make a bootable floppy disk with ADTPro on. What we need to do next is to actually transfer the ADTPro disk image from the PC to the floppy drive. And there's a small issue with that because then the Apple II needs to both send and receive data, and then you need both audio input and output to audio cables. However, the MacBook machine doesn't have a microphone input, so I can't use that, so I need to find another machine that has both headphone and microphone connections. So I set up this Windows PC here, and I actually had to install Java before I could use ADTPro, but let's see. So now I have connected both the input and output audio signals to this PC from the Apple II. So now we're gonna select receive, and you can enter a file name, but you can also just hit enter and it will load the directory. Unfortunately, I don't have the screen recording software on this machine, so I only film the screen. ADTPro will then send the contents of the disks folder you have in your installation folder. So here I have already copied a lot of disk images, some games and stuff. Alright, so now it's starting, and yeah, it actually loaded the directory right away. There's the list of files, and you can just use the arrow keys to navigate. So we're gonna select the ADTPro 2.1 DSK file. And the host replied with the file name, and now we can just select the blank floppy disk in drive 1. So now it starts receiving data. Great. I did not anticipate this to be working on the first try with volume settings on the microphone and things like that to consider. Alright, it was already completed. So it just stopped the process. I don't know why, but the receive did not get the disk image. So let's try once more. At least some of the commands getting through. So now I'm selecting the ADTPro image again. Host timeout. Image transfer aborted. Alright, so now it says request image from host to Apple. Now it seems to be loading more data. So it seems to be receiving data just fine, but however, after 16 blocks, it just aborts. So now I adjusted the parameters for how many blocks each transfer is. Then it stopped after 20 blocks, so Alright, so it seems I finally have success here. I have fiddled around with the audio settings on the Windows PC for at least an hour, and I finally found the correct setting for the microphone input. So now it's actually writing data to the disk and continuing. So seems like the communication is okay now. The documentation for the ADTPro actually states that you might have to use microphone boost, and I actually had the microphone boost, I tried different settings and had it up to 30 dB, but I couldn't still get it to work. And then I tried to lower the microphone volume. I set it to 72 and the microphone boost to 10 dB, and that actually seemed to work. Okay, what happens now? I think all the data is read and written, but now it's just hacking on the disk drive. Alright, it doesn't stop, so I'm gonna terminate it now and see if it actually can boot from the disk. Look at that! Actually booted right into ADTPro. That's nice! So now I'm gonna try to transfer something else, like a game, on another floppy. So just gonna format first. And actually now I'm gonna try and use the drive 2 just to see if it works. So formatting is really quick on these drives. So let me try and receive something else. Now that we have the audio correct, I'm gonna try and yeah, breakout seems to be something worth trying. So the transfer rate from the computer via audio is of course very slow. I don't know how much data rate is, but yeah, takes some minutes. And this time it actually completed without the hacking on the drive, so that's good. Let's try and boot. Alright, that did not work. Seems to be crashing. So I don't know why the breakout floppy disk image didn't boot. It could be anything. It could be incompatibility with this machine, or yeah, maybe some write error on the disk. So now I'm trying another image. This is the Apple DOS 3.3 and see if that works any better. Alright, so that one too completed with this banging on the head in the disk drive, so hopefully it will work. Alright, so it boots and loading integer basic. Be sure caps lock is down. Alright. Okay, so that worked. Nice. But I want games, so I'm gonna try Spy versus Spy this time. By the way, all these Maxell floppies comes from an unopened package of floppy disks, so hopefully they are still all good. Spy vs Spy completed. Let's check it out. Does it work? The sound is a little bit mysterious. It's been going on for a couple of minutes now, so it seems like the error handling in these disks is like try, retry forever. Just to rule out that it isn't a disk error, I mean a physical error on the floppy itself, I'm gonna retry on another floppy disk. Nope, still the same issue with another floppy disk, so there's something wrong with that image clearly, or it can't work on these floppies, something. If you know why this is occurring, then you should please comment under this video and let me know. Alright, so on we go. I'm gonna try the Saxon now, see if that works. Maybe we're lucky this time. Alright, does this work? Saxon. What is that? Hey, hey, hey. There's Saxon by KAGA. Nice, finally some game that actually loaded. Alright, is this the same Saxon as on the Commodore 64? Let's see, 1 or 2 players. 1. Okay, I don't know how to control the ship. Alright, so the sound is working just fine, that's for sure. Let me just try and attach a joystick, maybe that will work. Well, attaching a joystick, I was thinking maybe I could just attach a regular Atari style joystick, same as the Commodore 64s, but this machine doesn't have the same port. It has the opposite gender on the port, so I'll need to investigate how to connect joystick. I found another game. This is called Star Blazer. Oh no! Star Blazer was on a disc with several other games, so let's try Choplifter. Alright, this is a well-known game. I have seen it before, I think. Adrian Black used to play this on the on his Apple II. Let's see, how do we play this? Alright, so it seems I could lift off with the Control V, and I'm not able to fly. Control A controls the pitch of the helicopter, it seems like. Alright, so the Apple keys now turns and shoots. Well, I'll figure this out sometime later. But there's one thing I want to test. This machine is now in black and white mode, and there's a dip switch to change it to color, I think. Yeah, nice, that's much better. I zoomed in a bit, and the picture isn't terrible. It's, yeah, I don't know. It's okay. A little color bleeding, of course. I checked a little bit, and of course these Atari style joysticks won't work on this machine at all, because this machine has an analog joystick port, and that won't work at all with these kind of digital switches type of joystick. So the only solution for this machine is to use the original joysticks made for this machine, and yeah, of course you can get some adapters. There are some adapters around that converge, but I haven't taken a look at those yet. However, I have run into another problem with this machine, and that is what you see on the screen now. It's very flickery, and it just happens from time to time, and if I switch between black and white and color, it disappears, but it can also do it vice versa. And actually there are some pot meters on the motherboard, so I'm gonna try and adjust and see if there's something with the sync signal or anything that can be adjusted. Down here you see the dip switch between color and black and white, and here's a couple of pots down here, so I'm gonna try and adjust those a little bit. It might be my TV that's playing up. However, turning the TV on and off does not fix it, so I'm turning one of the pots now. That did not have an effect. I'm turning the other one. Oh, yeah, look. Okay, that was it. Let me switch over to black and white. Yeah, so now it's stable, at least for a while, we'll see. And the pot I adjusted was the one here. I haven't looked at the schematics for this motherboard, so I don't know what it is, but that turns out to do the trick. And that also made the picture a lot clearer. I think it's almost perfect now. So yeah, that was a really good improvement. Let's try out the chop lifter again. At least in text mode, the graphics is very clear. On this game there is a little bit of I don't know, shakiness between some pixels, and yeah, you can perhaps see the stars are flickering a little bit. Maybe hard to see when I film the screen, but I think this is a very nice result. So I must admit that I actually starting to like this machine more and more, and it's seems to be very well built, really good quality on everything from the keyboard to the very solid case, and a very nice and elegant motherboard, and the power supply is of course probably superb for its time. Alright, so I just found this utilities disk where you can do all sorts of disk stuff, like scanning for bad sectors and things like that. And you can yeah, see used sector map, copy disks, and actually you also have an editor for doing raw editing right to the disk. Handy to have. Very irritating intro. You have to hear this every time. It's called Utility Master, so yeah. Here you get disk copy, file copy, DOS commands, free sectors on disk, catalog. You have to type the actual slot where you have the disk card in, and then the drive number. Alright, so that is the files on this floppy disk. Alright, so now I got 5 floppies for the Apple IIe, and now I was thinking I'm gonna explore a little bit Apple DOS and see how it works. I got the manual and I read through it a little bit, so let's see what we can do. One thing I didn't mention is that this computer has the Norwegian keyboard, and the Norwegian keyboard has 3 extra letters, the Æ, Ø and Å, and this computer also has the Norwegian character ROM. And the way Apple solved this, that they have a switch under the machine that switch between 2 different character ROMs. Or at least that's 2 different character sets. So if I switch back to the other set, then you see that the characters just changes on the whole screen. So that's a little bit strange way of doing it. So let's see now what we can do. First thing I'm gonna do is to list the contents of the floppy disk. And every command must be typed in uppercase. So that's the files on the disk. Press space to see the rest. The information in the columns on the catalog is, the first column is an asterisk showing that the files are locked. And the second column is the file type, and A is AppleSoft Basic, I is for Integer Basic, and B is for binary. And the third column is the number of sectors that the file takes, and the fourth column, of course, is the file name. If I want to list the contents of the floppy in drive 2, I can just type catalog. And there is no delete button on this. There's a delete, but it doesn't delete. That's a little bit awkward. Catalog D2. So there's the games on that disk. And if I want to copy the floppy disk, I can type run and the program copy A. Again, I'm typing the wrong thing, copy A. IO error, well. Oh, it seems to remember that I wanted the drive 2 last time, so I actually have to change. I can type catalog D1. No, it should have shifted to drive 1, and I can type run copy A. So now it asks me for the slot, which is 6, and the drive for the original, and that is number 1. And I want to copy it to slot 6 and drive number 2. So let me just insert a blank disk now and see if it does the thing. Press return to begin copy. So it should do the formatting automatically. Yeah, seems to be doing that now, initializing. And now writing. So I guess it will go on for a little bit of time now, so I'm gonna stop here. So it stopped now with unable to read, and do you wish to make another copy? No. So I don't know why it failed on the read, but maybe it can't read all the sectors, I don't know. Obviously you are also in BASIC when you are in DOS, and you can start typing a program. So I will make a little small program here now. I can type run. And if we want to list the program, type list. And now you should be able to initialize a floppy disk with this program, with the command init hello. Alright, so now it starts probably formatting the disk first and then writing this program as hello on the disk. I noticed the other floppy disks also had a hello file on them. So that was it. Let's boot from this floppy then. Alright, that worked. Nice. Just one file. I mentioned that this machine came with a monitor, and here it is. It is a KAGA or KAGA, I'm not really sure, or it's a Texan KAGA. The outside of the monitor looks nice, nothing wrong with it, and yeah, it has this power switch here and the brightness and contrast controls here, and besides that it has some vertical hold and horizontal hold pot meters on the back, and there's just one video input for composite video. And it is a monochrome green screen. I don't know anything about this brand or this monitor, but I think this was common to be delivered with Apple II computers back in the day. So let me turn it on. So there it is. It is working. And the picture is quite alright. I'm gonna turn down the light in the room and take a look at the details on the picture. I cannot change the exposure to get a darker picture than this without flickering, but yeah, let me adjust the brightness and yeah, and the contrast. So probably not very good on this video, but I think it's quite a good picture, quite clear. And let me test the text mode. The text looks very nice, crisp, and yeah, very sharp. So this monitor just works perfectly. Just adjusting a little bit. Vertical and horizontal hold. So a nice monitor in very good condition. I'm not going to do anything with it now. I'm going to keep this for later. Maybe some other time I will make a video about this. We'll see. All right, I think that wraps it up for this video. I actually... sorry. I actually did what I planned, and that was to make some disks for this machine, run some games, and explore the operating system and the machine itself. So I think it was very interesting, a very nice machine. So it will be interesting to do more stuff in the future with this machine. I have other plans for the machine for later videos, like upgrading the CPU to make it more compatible with later software and things like that. Maybe do some recapping or replace the whole power supply. I don't know, we'll see. Also, I want to explore some modern solutions for this machine as well. I'm thinking about things like floppy disk emulators or something like that. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching, and a special thank you to my Patreons on patreon.com. And if you want to see more videos, please hit that subscribe button and also like my videos. I really appreciate it. Thanks and bye bye.